All right, Chinese scientists have unveiled a so-called super camera that is 5 times more detailed than the human eye and is equipped with AI, facial recognition, real-time monitoring, and cloud computing technology. Now, this 500 megapixel system can identify human faces instantly, even in a crowded sports stadium. For more on this technology, let's turn to investigative journalist Ben Swann. Hey there, Ben. So expand on the specs of this camera for us, if you will, and what this technology means for our future and the future of privacy.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. As you said, this is a 500 megapixel camera that apparently can instantly identify, because of its cloud computing technology and AI features, can instantly identify a person in a crowd of tens of thousands of people. For instance, a person, as you said, who's inside of a stadium. It can take still images and it can take video images. But what's really interesting about this, of course, is that the camera itself, set aside the privacy, we can talk about that in a minute, but just the camera itself would require such an immense amount of space within it, and the cloud computing systems would have to be so massive to be able to store all these images and to be able to instantly recognize. Because remember, you're talking about a highly advanced photo image, which has the more clear that image is, the larger the image is, therefore the more space it takes. So it would have to be a massive cloud computing system to be able to store all these images in such detail that this camera would work. But it is not inconceivable by any means, because the Chinese obviously have massive databases holding images of their citizens.
Yeah, I mean, 5 times more detailed than the human eye, Ben. I mean, that's just mind-blowing. So how concerned should we be that this camera it's not just a camera, but like you said, it's equipped with AI, it has real-time cloud computing technology. I mean, what does that do for or to us?
Well, it becomes instantaneous surveillance over everyone at all times in every location. That's essentially what is being created here, right? This camera, and by the way, this camera, of course, will not be the end of anything. It is only the next step in this developmental process. But this camera in particular, what it would be able to do is in any kind of a large public place, be able to instantly and constantly monitor and track all the individuals who are there at the moment that they are there. This is not a system where you're going back later and surveilling and looking for who was at this, for instance, soccer game. It would instantly know every single individual who was there at that moment, where they were sitting and what they were doing. So, when you start to take this same technology and you expand it out into the public sphere, it means that at least in China, that there is no place you would be able to be in a public place where you're not being monitored in real time. And where your location is absolutely known.
Now, I guess on the other side of this, though, Ben, couldn't that help a lot in the way of preventing potential crimes or maybe a terror attack?
I don't think necessarily it could, because we rarely know who the terrorists are until after they've attacked. We don't know who the criminals are until they've committed a crime. So what this does is it leans into the concept of pre-crime. We look for certain people and we try to anticipate what they're going to do, and we try to stop them before they do what they're going to do. But the problem with pre-crime is it also assumes motivation. It assumes that you know the thoughts and the actions of somebody who's going to commit this crime. And so instead what it does is it surveils everyone all the time. And the bottom line is, Manila, there's a misnomer in this idea that these kinds of monitoring systems and surveillance systems stop crimes from happening. I mean, we have cameras in our country, massive surveillance systems that are set up through police departments, but also through the private sector. Massive numbers of cameras that are recording people at all times. Those cameras don't prevent crimes. They merely help to indict those who may have committed the crime. They don't stop it from happening.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I have monitoring all over my house all the time, which, the camera could probably be hacked. But should, my car be stolen out of my driveway, then we'd be able to see possibly who did it. But Ben, what about in the event of hacking this cloud memory that it's tied to? How do you see this playing out, like 10 years from now, when everybody, all these different countries, they have this camera, like we just discussed the other day about drones, that, it's just expanded to 100 countries. When everybody has this technology and the cloud for them gets hacked, doesn't this serve to really create a fully encompassed surveillance state where it's not only the state looking at you, but now hackers are looking at you and people with, bad intentions?
Without question. That's where it all goes. I mean, there's no question that, as we said with drones the other day, you're right, 10 years from now, what we talk about happening in one country will be happening in 100 countries. 10 years from now, it won't just be nation states that are doing this, but it will also be private groups. We talked about with the drones, for instance, you have paramilitary groups, you have drug cartels who now have that kind of technology. Well, that will be true in these cases as well. Everything the state creates to monitor its population means that you're giving access to, as you said, hackers and criminal organizations to also monitor that population. So it never stays within one group. It never stays within one nation. The technology, the biggest fear about it too, Manila, is the acceleration with which the technology is coming. It's not that it's 30 or 40 or 50 years down the road. We're talking about 3, 4, 5 years down the road.
Yeah, as they say, Ben, technology doesn't take steps, it takes leaps. So, all right,
so
it's coming. Ben Swann, as always, appreciate your take. Thank you.
Manila, thanks.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.